So UPE code, this is our first workshop. It's our intro to game dev 1. I'm very excited for this workshop. It's our first workshop of the year. That's what I mean by first workshop, not our first workshop as a program. We've been around for a while. It's supposed to help you prepare for the intro. It's a global game jam that's happening on January 29th. January 29th. So UPE, our goal is that we focus on software development skills, and we want to increase the general programming knowledge for our community in FIU. And we expand farther than FIU. So we have members, not members, but we have people that participate in our meetings farther than FIU. So we also like help our community with technology and stuff. So specifically, we do mobile, we do web, we do game, and we do artificial intelligence, machine learning. I put current there because we were going to do a 2-track program this semester, but we actually switched it to a 4-track program, like completely. We're going to do web and artificial intelligence next semester, but we decided to do all 4 this semester due to really popular demand for web development and AI and machine learning. So we hopped on really fast. So we're going to do all 4. And we're not going to let down on any workshops that we would have done. We're just kind of doubling. And we got a couple more people and whatnot to help us with that. So I'm really excited for each one. They're all really independent and all really functional tracks. I really like them. So some of the benefits for joining UPE Code is that we offer introductory workshops. So you don't have to be some technology whiz to go to our workshops. You just have to actually be wanting to go to the workshops, and you go to the workshops and you actually learn something. We offer also exclusive workshops for advanced topics for people that are interested further into the region of code that they're studying. We also have a really active development and software community that everybody keeps on talking and gives off advice. We give out different frameworks for different stacks and whatnot. And at the end of each track, we're gonna actually award a certificate, the tracks that I was talking about before. So you get a web certificate, mobile certificate, game certificate, machine learning and AI certificate that you can put on your resume, or you can put on anything. You can show off to your friends that you got the certificate if you attend all the track programs and whatnot. And we just we have these workshops and stuff, so you can really boost your resume and learn a lot. So this workshop, like I said, is our intro to game development 1. You're gonna need Unity. That's the version we're using. You don't have to have that version. And your preferred text editor. I'm gonna be using Visual Studio Code. It's possible to raise the mic. I can't see the option. I think I can maybe raise my mic if everybody's having that problem. I'm at 200% output, or the max output. All right, okay. Just want to make sure. So any text editor is fine. I'm going to be using Visual Studio Code. So here's our upcoming workshops. We're going to have Game Development 2 on the same day as earlier that day that Global Game Jam is. Global Game Jam starts at 5 p.m. This one's going to start at 3 p.m. So it's going to go through 3 kind of to 5. We're probably not going to last till 5. Just that's depending on how much people stick around and ask questions and stuff like that. But it's going to end around 4. So if you want to stick around and ask questions, that's fine. Our court orientation is on February 3rd. So our members, we're going to get you guys familiar with code, exactly what we're doing, get you guys planned out for what you want to do in code, and kind of get to know each other. Then we're going to have our web development workshop on February 19th and our machine learning and AI on March 19th. We also have a surprise workshop on April 2nd. This is kind of a surprise workshop, and we're going to have some mobile development in it. So we have one of each track, and our track meetups are going to be announced in Game Development 2. So here's the website to become a member. I'll post that in the chat real quick. And oh, thank you, Mom. And the second one for UPE programs. Our deadline for code is actually today at midnight, so I suggest you guys apply if you guys want to do the tracks. Here's our Discord, and here's our social media. That's for UPE and the School of Science Information. I can't remember the acronym, but it's the school that really helps out UPE in a whole. So I suggest you follow both. They give updates on our workshops and stuff like that. I didn't update it. It should have my name there. but it was supposed to be so you guys can connect in LinkedIn with each other. If you guys want to send in your LinkedIn's right now and connect with each other, it's really nice. Having connections is something that's really big in computer science. So I just want to take like a minute for you guys to send any LinkedIn's that you guys have in the chat, so we can like connect with each other and stuff. And then I'll wait for like a minute, and I'll like be clicking on them and whatnot. Oh, I have to put that new tab. Let me go back to presenting mode, and I'll add you guys into my LinkedIn too. I add them at the end of the thing because it's a little harder for me. It's gonna keep on opening on this one. Go full screen it.
Well,
All right. I think I gave a little long enough. There's a lot of them, so you guys can go adding them while I talk. It's just really important to get connections in computer science. So I mean, most people usually have a little session for that. I highly recommend like doing it every single time because getting connections get you jobs, get you internships, gets you all types of stuff. So now we're gonna actually start the content of the workshop. So I'm gonna go over the types of games and some game genres. So I listed some examples here from like really popular ones. So I put Terraria as the side scroller. I put Donkey Kong, the OG game, Donkey Kong, as our platformer, like as a typical platform game. This is, I think, like a staple of it. And a really popular one that's top down is Among Us. I think it's been taking up a lot of wins, despite its like simplicity. Um, and like it's I wouldn't say it's like not hard to do, but this is a really simple game and it's got a lot of wins. So you don't need super practice, but you just want to master whichever genre you're doing. You don't want to try to incorporate too many elements. Then I put some 3D games here. I meant to not put Farmville. I meant to put a racing one, but I forgot to switch it didn't update it with like the LinkedIn. So that's hilarious. But we have Farmville as a simulation game. We have Fortnite as a shooter game. There's also like Call of Duty. There's a bunch of 3D shooter games. And then we put Skyrim as an action adventure game. Personally, Farmville is my favorite one out of the 6 I've shown. Strongly. So we'll get started with creating our Unity project. So if you open up Unity Hub, and if you don't have it, this one's really fast to download. It's just, you should have it. I think you have to install it before you actually make any projects. Here's my Unity Hub. And we're going to click New to start a new one. And it's opening up by another window. So, and we'll make like a 2D one. And we'll name it whatever. So I'll name it Game Dev 1. Active. And we'll click create and it'll create it. It's creating my other window. It's just like having a loading screen. Once it creates it, I'll drag it over. Rachel, I would highly suggest getting Skyrim. It's actually one of my favorite games. I don't play much games though, so I can't say much. But I like exploring and stuff. And once it creates the 2D game, we'll get started on it. We'll get started making like the basics.
Oh, sorry. What do we title the 2D game?
You can title it anything you want. For now, names. I'll tell you when a name is specifically important, but there's really no names that are important. Only variable names. This is just going to be for like a folder of some sort or anything like that. Right now, mine's busy for 50 seconds. It's taking quite a long time to make it.
Oh, okay, thank you.
No problem. So it might take a while to make it, and we'll wait for like a little while after, just in case mine's like the faster one. So mine loaded up here. So mine might look different than yours, because basically what we can do is we can actually set a layout for each time we open it, and we can open a new layout anytime we want. Yeah, Unity might take a while. My computer is actually a little strong because I do game development and stuff like that. So it might take mine less time than it might take others. So I'm going to wait like about 4 more minutes. That way everybody's has. Okay, no flex. Yeah, I know. If what kind of specs you got? To be honest, I don't know. I don't remember. All I know is that I have a pretty strong one. Yeah, in our Jeff, in our email that we sent out, we actually tried to recommend installing Unity, or we highly suggested installing Unity in most, or if not all, the emails. That way we could like go smoother transition, but we have time to like open up the projects and stuff. Oh, choose a 2D, choose a 2D one. So actually here I did a sample one right here. So you're gonna select 2D. I named this one 2D. You can name it anything. And I put a default location C drive. Don't do the C drive. You actually want to make a folder just for your projects. And this is gonna make a folder, and then it's gonna have the stuff. So you don't need to worry about it just having the stuff. So don't like double label it, if you know what I mean. Like you don't want to put like a new folder that's like game development, and then it's gonna make game development again. So but you want to choose a 2D game. I also showed a slide, the next slide, which is selecting a 3D game, but that's pretty much the same thing, to be honest. You just select 3D. So at 19, so in 2 minutes, like I said, 4 minutes, I'll continue. That way everybody has it started up, because I know it takes a while sometimes. No problem. This workshop will take about an hour. I have more content than an hour just in case we're faster, and that more content is gonna lap over to the second one. So even if like it goes just to an hour, we're gonna have the fundamentals done that you can run around, you can follow your platform, you can do all that. So the extra stuff, if we get to it, is just like little things like doing little like finesse things that make it look better and stuff like that. We might actually even finish fly by that depending on how fast it goes, but it's designed to be about an hour. Okay, it's 18, so it's just about. All right, I think I'm gonna get started with it. Okay, so this is how you start a 3D game. So for this workshop, like it says, we're gonna be using a 2x3 preset layout. If you use another layout, just remember like your stuff will be in different positions and stuff. So where I might click inspector, or I might click animations, or I might click something, it might not be there for you. So you might have to take a little bit more time. You can always change it. I'll show you in Unity where to set up preset now. So you go to window, you go to layouts, and we're gonna use being 2x3. And you can adjust the window's size. So if you can't read something, you can do that and stuff like that. So it doesn't matter, but this is the layout that we're gonna be using. It auto generates it pretty nice. I like having this about half. That's just me personally. I think it starts by default like way over here or something. But I like having it about half. And then this usually just has a name, so we don't need that much space and whatnot. So it's 19, so I'm gonna actually start getting into what we're gonna do. So we're gonna focus on core concepts, like I said. We're gonna make something expandable. So first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna make our folders that's gonna hold our assets, and just our assets. That's all the folders we're making, these 5. So inside our assets folder, we already have the scenes folder with sample scene, but we're gonna create a new folder. I right-clicked and I click create, and we're gonna name one art. You can right-click in here and click create folder. I'm gonna name one prefabs, and I'll explain each one in a second. I'm gonna name one scripts, and I'm gonna name one animations for animation. So we made those 4. Our animations is gonna hold our animations for our sprites, so like walking and stuff. Our art is gonna actually hold our sprites. Our prefabs are gonna hold basically template objects. So let's say we want to create something like a lamppost, or we're gonna create a desk. Then we would make it a prefab. That way we can drag and drop it and have multiple lamps or desks in our game. That way we don't have to recreate it every time or copy and paste it. It makes it really simple. So we're going to be using prefabs for our like platforms, or if we're going to have like some coin with an animation or anything like that, we're going to be using prefabs. And our scripts are going to be something that we attach to like our character for movement, our camera so that it follows our player and stuff like that. And our scenes is going to be, this saves how everything in our, right here, our scene window, it saves how everything is. So without it, we just kind of have like a collection of objects, but with it, we can open it and it presets all the objects exactly where we want it. That way we can like make multiple scenes and we could have like multiple levels. So I'm gonna send a link right now in the chat to download some assets. So I have the background and I have the player sprite and I have some like a whole list of tiles that we can use and whatnot. I chose that one, even though we're going to be using 3 of them for this tutorial, for this workshop. I chose this one because you could like, you have a lot of options if you wanted to expand it, and you can make like a whole bunch. So this is the Google Drive link with the links, with the downloads, and we'll just download them and put them into our Unity. So let me get them from mine. And I have to open it on my end because I can't just download them again. And I'll put them inside my art file. There's my background, there's my player, and there's my tiles. It doesn't matter what they're named because we don't actually access them like that. We're going to access them with these little tabs, most likely. For background, we're not, because that's not a sprite sheet. And I'll explain what a sprite sheet is in a second. But once everybody gets it downloaded and stuff, just send in that chat that you got it downloaded, so I know like when to continue. Not my Unity is still loading. It's okay, you continue. Okay. So now we're going to be using the Sprite Editor in Unity to crop the sprites out. This is something basic. I didn't want to go over actually creating sprites and drawing and stuff because that's most likely not what you guys are here for. You guys are here for actually game development. So usually a game developer is going to get these sprites from the graphic designer, or they're going to get it from online or hire for someone, and they're going to have to do this part themselves. Sometimes they'll do it before them, but you should know how to do it. So we're going to go over to player. We're just going to select it, and it's going to open it in our inspector. And we're going to click single for sprite mode, and we're going to change it to multiple. What this means is that we have multiple sprites per the image. For our background, we don't, so we're not going to do that. For our tiles, we're going to do the same thing. When you try clicking away, it's going to hit apply. You could click apply down here if you don't want the warning. So we're going to go down here, we're going to click multiple apply. And then we're going to go back to our player, and we're going to open it with our sprite editor down here. It's still in the inspector, just right here. Okay. So open the sprite editor over here. There we go. So I open our player sprite editor. And if you drag and drop a box, you can see that it made like a green box that highlights the player. So what we're gonna do is, we're first gonna do like an idle animation, or we're gonna at least make the sprites for the idle animation by just encapsulating them in a nice box that just fits them like this. You can zoom in with your mouse wheel if you want to fine tune it. But for now, it's not that important. You guys can do that after or during if you guys have time. And I'll just name it player, or I'll name it idle 1. And I'll do the same thing for this one. I know this is technically like a moving forward sprite, but he looks like he's wobbling. The sprite editor, yeah, was in the inspector tab on the right hand side. And if you don't have the inspector tab there, go to window at the top and then click general, or you click layouts and then 2x1. And that'll put your inspector on the right when you click the player file after you download it and put it in your art folder. So then we'll do it for this one. I'll just edit it a little bit. And I'll do it for this one. So I accidentally edited the green line, which would be its collider, which is basically what it collides with, and then the blue one is what it shows. So edit both of them at the same time. So use the bounding box right here. That way it's not like this. So you don't want like it splitting, because it's about that. It's right here. Like I'm moving my mouse. It's kind of hidden, to be honest. It's like in the mix of all the settings. So if you look at sprite mode, above advanced, it says it. Above clamp, it says it. Yeah, no problem. I remember when I actually started, I could not find it for the life of me. So the second one, I'll name it idle _2. And for this third one, I'll name it idle 3. What about the automatic slicing you can do? You can do that, but for this sprite sheet, it doesn't work because it's not really standardized. It's standardized for these 3, and then these 3 aren't. So you would have to automatically splice like half this thing. So it's a little more complicated. You can look into it, but I wanted to keep it as beginner friendly for now. But yeah, that's a feature. If you like for the tiles one, that would be really that'd be more relevant. But then again, it would also auto select the colliders to like a 2 high. So yeah, I went to Windows at the top, and then layouts, and then 2x3. So we'll just do it for the guy running. We don't have to do the second running animation because we'll actually just flip the person. We'll just rotate him by 180 degrees on that axis, so he's facing the other way. So I'll name it walking 1, even though I said running. And I'll highlight this one and be walking 2. It doesn't have to be exact. You can go in later and like zoom in and make sure it's exact. But for now, we just about want them the same height. That's good enough. And then walking 3. So when we click close, it's going to ask us if we want to apply. We do want to apply. And if you click the drop-down tab now, we actually have our 6 sprites. And if we wanted to, we could actually drag them into our viewer and look at them. But we don't want to use them just yet. Now we're going to do it for the tiles. We're just going to go like 3. With the splice type, what do you mean splice type? I don't think I went over stay automatic. I'm not sure I get your question. What someone asked was a hypothetical question. Like, why don't we do that for slice? And then, do you mean this? Yeah, just keep it automatic. No problem. Sorry, I was confused. I was like, wait, did I do something? But no. Okay. I think we're good. So now we're just gonna like highlight these 3. You can highlight either one of the terrains, like this gray one or this purple one, but I thought this purple one looked nice and royal. So I chose these purple ones. And the reason we do the 3 is just because this one is like a flat one, so it's like the middle one. This one's the edge one, and this one is a singleton one. So it's like if you had like a 1 platform by itself. There, just about. You can name them. So we could name this like middle, and then this one could be named edge, and then this one can be named singleton. That way we have them all names and we know what they are, because it might get a little small when we close it and hit apply, and we open it with the arrow. They kind of look similar, so it's nice to name them, like we named the idle 1, idle 2, idle 3. So is everybody good with the sprite editing? I think I'll move on for now. So now we're going to add in our actual character and our platform. For our character, for both, we're going to do a collider. So for our platform, we want a collider, which is something that adds physics to our character and adds so we can actually collide into them. So if our player falls, they can stop at the platform. We want a collider on our person because we also want it to collide into the wall, the platform, so it stops once it hits there. We're also going to add a rigid body to our player. That way he can actually be transformed easily in our code, and so we can add some more physics to them, stuff like that. So if we go back to Unity, well, actually I have a slide, so we can first do our platform. So we're gonna be putting our parts in, and then we're gonna make them a prefab, and then we're gonna name it. So what that means is, first we're gonna like zoom in into our little camera, so it's kind of like taking up the whole thing. That way we can see when we drag them in, and you can even zoom in more to it because it's gonna show up pretty small. And then we're gonna grab our middle one and we're gonna put it in the middle too. You can actually hold V when you're moving it around, and it's gonna align itself to a vertex. So you could align it to the vertex down there like that. That way they're aligned. The reason they look not aligned, because my sprite editing skills were not good enough. They were not good enough, and I have white space. And they're not the same size. And then what we're actually gonna do, so we don't have so many middle ones, we can actually go over here. We can go draw mode, we can go tiled. And what that's gonna do is when we expand it, now it's all the same one, and it's just tiled like that. Again, that black line is because I'm imperfect, and I didn't do a perfect sprite edit. So like once you go back and perfectly do it, then it's gonna be more smooth. But for now, I'm gonna have like little black lines. The only option in this section for me is to change my status or block people. Oh, for Zoom, I was like, status or block people? Yeah, I was a little confused for a second. I was like, block people. My guy's built like a zombie. I don't know if he's a block person like Minecraft. Okay, so then we're gonna add another edge at the end, and we're gonna flip it by 90. So over here, and it's in the specter, we go to transform, we go to rotation, and we do 90. That's the Y. We do 90 in the X. Wait, we do 180 in the Y, right? Yeah. My God, apparently I don't know my axes. So we do 180 in the Y to flip it like that. So now the edge is facing the other way. And we can attach it to the other one. We could either sit there and attach it smoothly, which I'll lower this one just a tiny bit. Or we could attach it to the vertex like that. Which this one looks a little different. Now I'm going to have to attach this one according to this vertex. Oops. There. I click the vertex down here and then I drag it to this vertex. Just for anybody that's a little confused on it. You could drag it to the top vertex. So like you hold, oh, I never introduced how to actually drag to the vertex. So you hold V, and it does this kind of mode with blue dots, and you click the vertex you want to drag, and it allows you to drag to other vertexes. Still confused on how you copy the middle piece. Okay, so like originally we have, don't do this, but I'll explain it. We have a middle piece, and if we drag, it's gonna like do that. So in our inspector part, we go to draw mode and we click tiled. Now when we do it, it's gonna do that. It's also gonna do it for up and down in case you want like an actual map like this. Or if you have like dirt and the dirt goes down forever, then you could do like that and you could expand it. But I don't have that for now. We just have like a platform with 3 parts. No problem. Okay. Now we're going to be using an edge collider to be specific. So we said we wanted a collider so our person can fall to the floor. Now we're going to add an edge collider so our person actually hits it, but we don't want a collider for every single block. Okay? We just want a collider for one of them, and then we're going to have it expand over the others. So for this middle one, we're going to add component, and we're gonna add, just type edge and then edge collider 2D. We would be using 3D stuff if we're in a 3D game, but we're just in a 2D one. And it's gonna make our little green line in the middle. Once you do that, you click this little edit bounding volume or edit collider. It's the first one. It looks like a little tree, a binary tree, or like a I don't know a comparison to it. It looks like a little 3 dots. So once you click it, it allows you to edit the green line however you want. So we could have it colliding like this if it was a shape like this and whatnot. So we're gonna move the starting point to the edge over here. We're gonna move this one over here to the top left. I'm gonna zoom out. You can move around in Unity by pressing down in your mouse wheel, like this. You could also right click. So either way, it lets you move around like that. You can use your scroll wheel to zoom in. And then we're gonna move this one back down here. And then we're gonna create a new point on our little edge collider. Oops, it froze. And we're gonna put it in the top right. Just like that. If you want, for your edge collider, you can include the bottom so that players can't jump up. In fact, let's actually do that. So what we would do is we would select the middle one because that's where our edge collider is. We would click edit and we would just move this last one or make a new one in the middle. Or not make a new one, we want to move the last one. Move the last one here and put it over here. Mine automatically did the line because I accidentally made 2 on this corner. But let's say it didn't do this line, so it looked like something like this for you guys. And then we want to, okay, I'll explain the edge collider in 1 second. And then we want to move it over here. So the edge collider, basically what we did is we selected the middle tile that we expanded like that. We click it, and then we click add component, and then we type in edge collider. Or you can search, you can like look through the list if you want. But edge collider, just typing edge will actually suffice. And then that adds it to that game object. And then we click these 3 dots to edit it. And it's like a line that you can move. You can click the middle of the line. Once you click edit, you can click the middle of the line to make a new point on that edge. So we just wrapped it around our box. There's a very basic way of doing it. It's very efficient in my opinion. Like we get it done really fast. So once you have the 3 pieces done, you want to select them like this, or you can select them here with a shift click like that. You can shift click them, or you can select all 3 by holding shift and selecting them. And you can actually rename them if you want. So you can select it and click F2, or you can select it and right click and then click rename. And we can name this like left edge, and this one right edge. So after we select the 3, we want to drag them. Oops. First, let's actually do the character first. Add our character, platform to prefab, add our character. So we want to do a character, and we want to add a box collider to handle our character's interaction with the floor. We're also going to add a rigid 2D component. So first things first, we're going to drag our idle 1, idle 2, idle 3, one of them, to our game, just like that. So the platform is pretty small compared to our person. Also, this lets you see what the person in game will see. The recording will be on YouTube. We'll post the YouTube of the UPE at the end, but the recording will be on YouTube. No problem. Okay, so first things first, we add a box collider, 2D, inside of our inspector when we click our person. Does anybody have a question so far? I just want to make sure. We're about halfway through the demonstration part of the workshop. Is everybody good? Okay. Okay, then I'll continue for now. So we have our box collider 2D, and we're just gonna leave it like that because it auto-selected our person. So if I zoom in real quick, you can see like a green box around him. You can kind of see when I do this because it lags behind it a little bit. So we have actual physics with our person. So actually, if we clicked play, my zoom is blocking it. If we clicked play, it'll take a second. We haven't actually added any gravity to our person. But in theory, you would fall and hit it. So let's add some gravity with our rigid body 2D. So actually, right when we add this, we can actually run it in C. But we're actually going to freeze the Z axis, because if we don't, our person can just tip over and fall. So you want to go inside rigid 2D, and at the bottom of it, it says constraints. And then you want to freeze rotation on the Z axis. That way, he does not just fall over. He will never fall over now. He doesn't rotate on that axis. Okay. So now we're going to do player movement. Okay. We're going to go inside our scripts. We're going to click create, and we're going to make a new C script. We're going to name it player movement, for example. And just click enter. And you could show an explorer. You can open however you're going to open it. I'm just going to double click, right click it. And then I need to open my Visual Studio Code, put it over here. I need to actually open it. There we go. All right. So I opened into my Visual Studio Code. You don't have to use Visual Studio Code. It's actually a little annoying to like do certain stuff in Visual Studio Code with C#. Like the formatting sometimes messes up and stuff. So if you have another preferred editor, go for it. I'm just going to use Visual Studio Code because it's like the easiest. I'm the one most familiar with. So it starts us off with the start and update function. For this, we're not going to be using the start one, so you could delete it or leave it. You could leave it just in case like you want to use it later, you have ideas. But we're going to make some variables for our player that we can use. So we're going to make a public float, and this one's going to be max speed, and this one's going to be jump height. So we're going to use max speed and jump height in our editor so we can configure it anytime. So if we go over here, we add component, we add a new script, or actually we'll just drag it to our person in our hierarchy here. So wherever our person is, idle 1, we just drag it to him, and now it adds it in our expector down here. So if we save in our Visual Studio Code, so I save this with the 2 public floats, and it uploads in my Unity. Now we have the variables down here to edit. So now we've like essentially made our own actual component. So now we can set our max speed to 10 or whatnot, but it's not actually going to do anything. We don't have any implementation yet. We just allowed it so that we can edit it inside our Unity. That way we don't have to go into the code every single time. Or we can edit it mid-game if we want to do testing. Okay, so now we're going to get into a little bit of code. So we want to test if they get their W key down for up. We can also use space, but for now we're just going to be using W because that's usually what's used, the WASD. So we get their input. If the key down is W, then we want to jump. So how we jump is that we get the component that is rigid body, not capital B, 2D. We access its velocity, which you can see in the inspector in rigid body. It has velocity and its info right here, velocity. So we're just accessing that velocity. We're grabbing that component that we added to it, and then we're going to set his velocity plus equal to a new vector. And his vector, we can do anything we want, but it has an X and a Y. So for our X, we don't want him to move horizontally, but for our Y, we want him to jump whatever our jump height is. So if we save it, we go into our editor, we set his jump height to, I don't know, 10, and his max height to 10, or max speed to 10, just for now. Since I have compiler errors. Oh, I should have used a vector 2D. That's completely my bad. Because we're working with 2D space. So we add new vector 2D. Or 2. Oh my god. We add a new vector 2. We plus equal to vector 2. And now we go back into Unity. Now we don't have any compiler errors. We run. And we press W. And our guy jumps up. He jumps up quite high. I guess he's an athlete. But the one bug with this is that if we're not touching the platform, we can just double jump to infinity. So we'll add protection against that a little, but first we're going to work on actually moving him with our other keys as well. So for Italian sets is a Lomachian Visual Studio Code. Yeah, especially with C#. You have to like specifically open it in a folder. It has a couple of bugs. I'm not sure why they don't fix them. So for moving to the right, we're going to use the A key, or the A key actually goes left. So this one goes left, and we're going to get the component again. You can copy and paste it of the rigid body. And then we're actually going to add a force this time instead of setting the velocity. And the reason that we do that is because it's going to add for a smoother transition between moving around. So we can do that with this one because ideally we're going to just jump once. We're not going to jump back and forth. But this one, we're only getting the key because we want them to be able to hold A and be able to move constantly. We don't want to just press A every time we want to move a block. So we're going to add a new force, and this force is also a vector 2. And we're going to use our max speed inside here. So we're going to use some expression for x. And then I'm just going to say we're going to use 0 for y because we don't want him to go up. And as our second argument for add force, so we have a vector 2 for our first one. For our second one, we're going to use force mode 2d.force. That just tells it what type of force is it. There's other types of force that you can do, like impulse and stuff, but this one is just allowed for like a smooth transition over the platform. So for our max speed, since this is not actually setting their velocity, it's just doing a force, like push into that speed, we'll do their max speed divided by 4. That way they don't move too fast and whatnot. 10 might be way too fast, so we're probably going to have to change it inside our Unity. But now we're going to do D. And we're going to do the same thing, except it's positive. So it goes right. That's the only thing that we changed for D. So if we go back into our thing, it says force mode 2D does not exist in the current context. So we're going to go back here. I put force mod instead of force mode. And I'm going to add an E. I'm going to go back to Unity and run it. So if we run it, we have W to jump. And if we hold A or D, our guy slides across the floor really fast. I can slide off the map, which then I kind of fell off. Look, and I jumped back up and I landed there. I was pretty lucky. So we can set his speed a little lower, like 3. And I think that'll be like a reasonable speed. But we don't actually have a max speed for it yet. I guess he's really slow now, so we can set it to like 5. You can mess around with the values however you want. The important thing is that we can edit it around pretty fast. So we can like test it out. We can actually test it in the game. So if we change it right now, it's only testing for this particular game. So if we set it to like 8, it's only this particular game that it tests for. So if we stop it, it'll set it back to 5. So it's like testing. So now, let me go back to this. We're going to apply a background to our to our camera. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to make a new image right here. We're going to go new UI, and then we're going to do canvas. We can name it anything we want. We can name it background. And let me see. Okay, so on inspector, we go down to canvas, and then we go to render mode, and we change it to, instead of overlay, we change it to screen space camera. Once we change it to that, we can have the ability to attach it to a camera. So here we have our main camera, and we're just going to drag and put it where it says none camera. And it instantly attached itself to our camera. Hold on, I'm getting an error in my code that says namespace definition unexpected. I can't go much off of that. What else does it say? I can help you in a second. I'm going to continue adding to the background just for now. So our background has the canvas on the right there. So inside our background, we can go to art and we can drag and drop our platform into background like this. So now our background is in our actual one. And it's currently in front of everything when it should be behind everything. So then we FX. Wait a second. No, indentation doesn't matter. So it just goes. For some reason, it's changing it from originally how I had it. That's really weird. I'll add the background next time. So we'll just leave it like that. But it should be adding the background. Use the sorting layer to put the background behind. Yeah, that's what I thought, but I didn't want to go too far into that and waste time with it because it should do it automatically. It should do it automatically. It's just a little weird. That's fine though. We'll just move on to the next one, like the next subject. We'll just do it for the second workshop. So now we're going to trace our camera to the player with his movement. So we go back over here, we go to our scripts, we create a new C script, C# script, and we can name it camera follow, however you want. And then we're going to open in our text editor again. Here it is open. So this script is actually really simple. So we're going to have our public transform, and this is going to be our player. And then we're going to have two private ones, and it's going to be our start Y and our start Z. And the reason we save these two is that we want to save them for when our player moves. Like when we start the game and our player moves or the camera moves, we know where our start Y and Z are, so we can do some calculations. So first things first, we want to stop if our player is null. Then we're going to just return, and we're not going to actually do anything. If our player isn't null, then we're going to set our start Y to transform.position dot Y, and we're going to do the same thing for Z. Now we're going to do the same thing. If our player is null, then we're just going to return. And now we're going to set the position of the camera on every update to a new vector 3, because we want our camera is a 3D thing. It's kind of accentuated out of the platform, out of the whole game. So we want to set it to a new 3, and we're going to go target.position.x, so it's going to move horizontally with it. And then we're going to do start Y and start Z. So now, if we go back to our game, we drag camera follow to our main camera. So we're attaching the script to our main camera. And we have it here. Oh, I have to save it over in Visual Studio Code. So we attached camera follow over here. So we have camera follow. Public transform player. It should update here and show just like before. It's really weird. Transformed. You spelled transform wrong on the bottom. I see what you mean. Yeah. Okay, now we save. The declaration of start Y isn't working. Oh, I completely forgot to name it a float. That's why. That's completely me. Yeah, you add float between it because we want them to be stored as a float. And now when we go back, it says the target does not exist in current context. Did I use target somewhere? I should use player where I use target. Okay. Transform. We should have those as player. Actually, no, just transform because we're accessing the camera. Yep. I should have this as player. That was one of the things. I was using target instead. And I should have had float here. So now if we look at our debugger, it says there's no errors and it updated it with player. Sweet. So now we're going to drag idle one, which I'll just rename to player real quick. So I'll right click and then rename to player. I'll drag it to where it says main camera. So I drag it right here and I drop it. So now if we run it and we move left and right, our player stays in the center. So it follows his X direction. But if we jump, he just goes off the screen. So if I run over here, he's just going to fall down into the void. So now we traced our camera to our player. So next is that we're going to make some animations. Here was the time I thought we would about stop for next time. So next time we're going to be doing the animations. We're also going to add logic to our animations. And we're going to do the background. And we're going to add some like cool things like coins that you can interact with another collider. But for now, all we have is a little player and a platform. Just for now. But soon we're going to have more. So don't worry. No problem. Okay. And I'll do the final slides in a second. I just want to see if you add a prefab like that. For some reason, it's brain farting me. What was the last portion of code after void update? Yeah, I can pull it up. So void update, we're going to return if the player is null. So they haven't set the player actually. And then we're going to transform to the position at X of the player and the start Y and the start Z. Update's called once per frame like it says. So whenever our player moves, we're going to update our camera to that location. And start Y, start Z means that it's not going to move up and down and it's not going to move back and forth. The reason we do start Z, even though like in this game we don't have any Z movement, is that our camera actually, if you look at it, it starts at position -10. And that's such a weird one. You could move it farther, like -100, but then it's going to be like really off the map and you're not going to see and whatnot. So just so it's ambiguous, so if you move that one, it'll still be good. So you don't have to worry about it. The script's supposed to be like in the background. Okay. So here's our upcoming workshops again. We have the intro to game dev, we got the code orientation, and we're going to release the rest of the tracks after the intro to game dev 2. So thank you guys for coming. That's the end of the workshop.